Pisces 6, officers on a dress parade. So these officers are dressed exactly in the right way, and there's a finger wagger to tell them off if they've got one button undone or one hair out of place. They're getting it exactly right, and it's taken a huge amount of discipline to get it exactly right. And this whole business of dressing in order to present yourself to the world in a certain way is studied here. We all do this. And we're not only talking about soldiers, we're talking about sportsmen, or women going out to a party, or men going to a business meeting. And we dress in a certain way because of the understanding that the group which we're relating to by dressing up has its own protocols, its own very clearly described rules of engagement. And if you want to get to the top of the tree in any particular scenario in life, whether it's sport or parties or military or business, whatever it is, across the board of life experience, the people that are at the top of the tree, the ones that are actually calling the shots, the most influential ones, they've learned how to dress just the right way. And we can think about rock stars. Wouldn't it be absurd if a rock star dressed differently from the way rock stars dress? I mean, they're all in their own way different, but they do look like rock stars. Whereas a businessman who does not wear a suit and a tie would be remarkable indeed. They exist, but they're not normal. A politician without a suit and a tie is almost unthinkable. Or if you're a woman, then you've got the equivalent, a certain way of dressing in a suit rather than a party frock. There's a way of dressing for every situation, and that indicates the kind of emotional experience that is the protocol of that group, typically. We dress in the business fashion because we're containing our feelings, and we dress in the rock and roll fashion because we're expressing our feelings, and the sports fashion because we unclutter ourselves of unnecessary intrusion, so that the physical body is primary, and so on. We've got this way of dressing to fit the emotional experience of that group. And it's not only to do with clothes, it's to do with all of it. Our manner of speech, our attitudes, our opinions, all of it, every part of our expression is tailored to fit the group that we're trying to relate to. And we have to decide whether we want to make that commitment to join that group. And the more committed we are, the more obvious it becomes in how we dress and how we speak and how we respond to that group's norms of behavior. And you can't become influential in any group without becoming the exemplar, the best example of what that group's values may be. So it's not wrong to say that if you learn the protocols of any group, then you've learned what the group wants, what the group needs, enough to be the spokesperson for that group to some significant extent. And this applies across the board in all fashions of life, in all aspects of life. And in every single case, there are privileges. And this applies on the street as much as in the corridors of power. It applies in every case that if you get to the center of things by dressing and behaving according to that group's norms, you have privileges and influence. And this is what a lot of people really aim for in their life, to have that level of privilege and influence. That's what fame and fortune is all about. And to get there, you cannot get there without a certain amount of self-discipline. In fact, a considerable amount of self-discipline. And that means not doing things that you feel like doing. If you want to be a model, then you can't really eat a lot of pizza. Those two things just don't work together. If you want to have a thin, attractive body, you can't go into carbohydrates too much. It's one of the things, and you might want to taste the taste, but you can't because you've got this self-discipline going. And if you want to be a soldier on a dress parade, then you can't get drunk the night before because you just won't have the head to discipline you to do the action the next day. So we have to give up things that we want to do in order to receive this privilege of being the central influence in any particular group. So those people who do not have self-discipline, they can't get there. They can't get to be central in any particular way in their lives. And you'll make up excuses for why you're not self-disciplined. I heard one recently. Somebody said she was a free spirit. And that term is very often used for the fact that there's no willingness to commit, to get down and actually deal with the grit in life, and to give up the pleasures for the minute and get the job done and keep your word and do things which are the remarkable qualities of a truly successful person. You'll make up another excuse if you don't like the phrase free spirit, but you'll make up an excuse. But the facts of the matter are that if you haven't got the clout, the oomph, the life commitment to discipline yourself away from the easy, expedient path of pleasure and comfort, and actually get on with the job in hand to the point of impressive self-discipline, getting it exactly so, then your influence is reduced. You're not going to make any impact. You're just going to be a stocking filler, part of the bulk of humanity. 90% of humanity don't really do very much, not in any consequential way. In their own little way, they think that their lives are okay, but 90% of people just slowly follow to the right or to the left. The people that do have this self-discipline and that do have this influence. Now, what happens if you do learn to play the game really well so that you get to that point in the center? Bit by bit, you've given up bits of your authentic self to play the game. And this is the real danger. This is why it's understood that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Because in order to get power and influence over a group, that's what power is, we need to play the game. We need to dress according to the community requirements. And in so doing, we may well lose our sense of what is true for us. We just dress up. We present glamour to the world to the point where we forget that it's not real. And this can actually take place, that people who are dressed to kill, they forget the truth of who they are. They never remember it. There's this awkward feeling that they have sometimes that they don't really look into. They just have the feeling and then take another drink or turn on the telly just so they don't have to feel it. But this feeling of inauthenticity, like falseness, is the only indicator you've got that you've capitulated too much, you've compromised too much in order to gain position. And we need to look at that so carefully. Why is it that you want that influence? Why is it you want that power? Is that a really true expression of your soul's journey, that it requires strong level of influence in order to fulfill its agenda in life? And it may be so, but usually it's not. But if it is so, then the test for you is to just make sure when you're in a position of influence and playing the game that there's a part of you that doesn't play the game, When you go home, you take off this facade. You become real, absolutely true. And you've got a friendship circle and your family and people that know the real you. And so that when you go out and you exert your influence in society, you know you're putting on a mask. But remember to take it off. And remember sometimes when you're actually wearing the mask that you're acting through the mask. You know, you're not dependent upon the way you dress. Even at the level of young people going out to a disco or whatever, they dress up and they make themselves look young and sexy. And if they were to go out without their clothes and their makeup and so on, they would feel lost somehow, disempowered. So on all levels we have to look at this, even when we're young and less interested in power. Nevertheless, we have to look very carefully at the risk there is of losing ourselves when we dress up.